All right, couple things as we begin. I know it's been over a week, but again, players of the game in our contest against Temple offensively for the second consecutive game. It was running back Ryan Jackson. Defensively, it was a linebacker Ephraim Oliphant, who's a young man that told the team this as well. I'm extremely proud of. When spring practice began, he was third on the depth chart at linebacker. Had a great spring, started to move up. Certainly worked extremely hard this summer, and then had a great camp. Was very productive in our scrimmages, and ended up starting for us and made a bunch of key plays in the win against Temple. So very proud of him and what he's accomplished to get to where he is right now. Special teams, again, Richie Leone with the 5 field goals, and then scout players of the game offensively, running back Joseph Glenn, defensively, defensive lineman Jamal Baker, and on special teams, receiver Cameron Oliver. One other personnel note, quarterback David Pyland, again, going through our concussion management plan. I spoke with him last night. He's doing much, much better. He'll be over here today. He'll be in meetings. He will not practice this afternoon, and I should know more about his status for this weekend's game at some point tomorrow. So again, just talking about Temple, because we did not get together last week for a press conference. It was a big win for our program. It was great to certainly get on an airplane and fly 3.5 hours and come home with a victory the next afternoon. I think early in the season, with the makeup of our team right now, it was good to get a win in that fashion. You know, I think expectations at times, even internally, and even with our student athletes, might be we're just going to have games quite often like we did in the first one, and that's certainly rarely the case. And I think with the new conference we're in, and I've mentioned this a number of times, I think with the level of competition and the depth that we're facing, games are going to be much closer. And it was good for us to have a game that we had to fight and battle like we did and come out on top. So I was proud of our team, proud of our staff, and it was a good win to get us to 2-0. This game is the next game on the schedule. So because of that, it makes it extremely important. With our bye last week, we were able to continue our focus on academics, try to get some guys healthy that have been banged up, then begin our preparation for Rice. I'm excited about this rivalry. I mentioned this yesterday on a radio show I was on, that it's one of 2 nationally where both programs reside in the same city, and I think it makes it special for that reason. I've been a part of a number of great traditional rivalries, not only as a coach but as a player. Minnesota, Wisconsin in my college days, Auburn, Alabama coaching, Louisville, Kentucky coaching, and this is right up there with those 3. And again, I think what makes it unique is the fact that our both campuses are only miles apart, and certainly they've got a number of young men in their program that we recruited, bless you, coming out of high school, and there's young men in our program that they recruited. There's young men on both teams that went to high school together, so quite a bit of familiarity. Again, Coach Bailiff and I worked together for 3 years at what is now Texas State. I consider him a close friend and a mentor to me, and we don't live too far apart. We stay in close contact, and you know, I've liked our preparation to this point. And again, we'll be out there in full pads this afternoon for 2 hours as we get towards Saturday. Any questions?
What were some things that y'all focused on during the bye week, you know, giving y'all some extra time to work on? What were some of those things that y'all emphasized this week?
Well, a couple of things. A little bit what I mentioned earlier. Again, it's as much time away from here that our student athletes have had since really we started camp the first part of August, So, continue to focus on their academics last week, try to get some guys that have been banged up as healthy as could be. And then we did begin preparation for a game against Rice as a staff. We had a couple coaches, including myself, go on the road recruiting Thursday during the day and go to high school games Thursday night. And the vast majority of our staff went out Friday as well, and a couple coaches even on Saturday. So it was a very, very productive week. And again, this week, I use the word continue. We're going to continue our preparation this week for the game on Saturday. Well, and it's playing at Reliant, again, for our student athletes and everybody involved in our program is very, very exciting. I think last year we just played there one time. Again, it was in the Bayou Bucket against Rice. This year, I think we got 5 games there. We've already played the one. Our crowd was outstanding in the game there against Southern. Our student section was as good as I've heard it since I've been here. And, again, our young men, to have a chance to play in one of the nicest NFL stadiums, certainly where the Texans play, and they watch them every Sunday, they look forward to it. It gives them energy. Probably shouldn't, but it does, and from the moment we arrive at Reliant, the kids are excited to be there, and they're ready to go.
Coach, a little bit of shuffling at the linebacker spot with George Bamfo and stuff like that right there with your linebackers. Your 2 outside guys. Is that more of a productive standpoint thus far, or is that more of a scheming for this week type deal?
No, it's a production standpoint. Yep. So we're making a change there. Ephraim will start. Stephen Taylor will start at the other outside linebacker position as well, and certainly Derek Matthews will still play for us inside.
Follow up on that, Tony. What you mentioned Ephraim going from 13 to now. I mean, what has he done specifically that caught your eye or that of Coach Hargreaves?
Well, defensively, and I know in the past, earlier in my career, you've been caught up with assignment grades and technique grades and effort grades, which are certainly important, but defensively, I believe it comes down to production, and that's guys that make plays, guys that tackle, get assisted tackles, have interceptions, cause fumbles, and really, Ephraim is a very instinctive player. He's very intelligent. He's been in our program now. I believe he's a junior, and he's a young man that from the very first scrimmage this August showed up on the video as being very, very productive in his tackling. And, the assignments and the techniques and the effort, that's something you expect. But then the young man's got to go out there and make plays. And that's something he did from the beginning. Going into the season, our mindset was he would be the backup. He would kind of be the first linebacker in at all 3 positions, Sam, Mike, or Will. And then based on his performance now, we've moved him up, and he's going to become a starter this week.
Besides Pyland, what are the other injury updates, particularly Kenneth Farrow?
Kenneth Farrow and Eric Island really are the 2 that have injuries that are not season-ending at this point. And Ralph is the one with the leg injury who's out for the year. And I'll know more after this evening on both of them, but I would say at this point they're doubtful for the game Saturday.
Coach Bale called the bucket one of the ugliest trophies, but one of the most gratifying to win. Is that an accurate description?
He's called me ugly before too, but it is. It definitely is. And I think this is one of those games, and you look at its history, you can truly throw the records out. Our young men are going to be ready to play, and certainly Coach Bailiff and the Rice student athletes are going to be ready to play. So regardless of record, and again, you look at, again, what it's gone on year after year after year, this is a highly competitive game, and the celebration that ensues when the game concludes is one you see in those rivalries where the winning team runs over if they don't have it and grabs it and begins to enjoy themselves on the field at the other program's expense. So I would agree with that statement. It's one that I think it's pretty. but he certainly is entitled to his opinion. And, it's one that both programs certainly are striving to get at the end of the game.
Tony, Rice likes to throw out two quarterbacks, so switch up where the quarterbacks in the game. What kind of approach do you guys take to handle a program like that when you do stuff like that?
Well, you try to evaluate them to see if there's any tendencies in terms of which quarterback is running a certain scheme or system or certain plays, which we obviously are doing going into this game. They're both very talented. McCard's obviously got more experience being the senior. Dreyfus played against us last year, and they're both extremely dangerous. I think when you look at the film, Dreyfus, you can tell he's got some experience under his belt now, and he's not a freshman. He was very talented last year, played extremely hard, but you can see the improvement he's made, and it's a dangerous combination, and again, it's something we are preparing for, and I think you go into a game defensively, and you got to figure out during the course of the game and during the flow of the game what their staff, what their mindset and their plan is going to be in terms of rotating those two.
Coach, with Ireland's status, in doubt right now, how has the bye week helped John O'Corn get ready for this game?
Well, I've had a number of questions over the last few months in terms of what I thought of our schedule with two bye weeks in the first 4 games, if you will. And I liked how the bye weeks fell because if we were going to play any young guys, regardless of position, it was going to give us an extra week in there of just practice and to give them repetition. So, again, last week, David did not practice during the bye week. John O'Corn, Greg Ward, Billy Kosh got the vast majority of the reps, and that only is going to help, their progress.
How impressed have you been with O'Corn's playing time so far?
How impressed have I been? What I've been impressed with, probably more than anything with John, has been his poise. And you take for granted, a couple years ago when I was coaching special teams here, and we had to put out a true freshman punter, Richie Leone, just as the special teams coach, just for an 18-year-old to run out there and catch a snap and punt it, I was a little concerned and nervous, and then he showed me he could handle that as a true freshman, and that's what John has done. I mean, he's showed me, our staff, and I think his teammates that, the stage last week on TV, actually where he is from, had all his family and friends there, was not too big for him, and went in the game when we were losing, and didn't play a perfect game. I've said that before, and nor will he ever, but came back and led us to a victory. And showed tremendous poise and leadership for a guy that's only been here a few months. So that's what I've been most impressed with. And again, it's not like we're handcuffing him, if you will, and only giving him a little bit of the offense. I mean, he's got to know the offense. Greg Ward's got to know the offense. Billy Kosh has got to know the offense. Our program saw that in 2010, where regardless whether you're first string, third, or fourth, you better know what you're doing. And, he's had to check plays at the line of scrimmage. He's had to go through his progression and make throws with the rush coming and the speed of the game. Again, he played at a tremendous high school program, but the speed of the game now is so much faster than it is in high school. So I think he's adapted extremely well. But again, what stands out to me initially is the poise he's shown being an 18-year-old true freshman.
Tony, you said Farrell's doubtful, but you still have Ryan Jackson, who's getting a lot of playing time for you, and you got Justin Pettis.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about their contribution to the team. What are these depth-wise that you can, even if you don't have kids, you've got these two guys?
Well, again, Ryan and Kenneth Farrell to me are co-starters. So, again, Kenneth being doubtful is like you're losing a starter, but you still have Ryan. They're two different type of backs. Kenneth is very, very fast. He's bigger. He's 215 pounds. Ryan's 185, 187, but very, very explosive and fast. And then, you add Justin Hicks to the mix, who's, again, I think I mentioned this last week. If you don't know, he's paying for school right now. He's a walk-on. He's more compact. I don't know what we list his height at, but we probably fudged it a couple inches in the program, and done a great job catching the ball. Had a key catch to move the chains at Temple in the red zone. Runs the ball extremely well, and we've got a group there. kind of by committee a little bit when you talk about Kent Brooks, Randall Holloman, at fullback you got Luke Stice, Tyler McCloskey. So we've got a number of guys back there to where it's not a one-man show. We can keep guys fresh. Certainly Kenneth Farrow is a sophomore captain. That really speaks for itself. We'll miss him if he can't play this weekend, but I think we've got a number of guys that I know our staff has complete confidence in, and I know their teammates do as well.
They've played the first 2 games and what they'll need to do to be successful against Rice.
The defensive line has been, I'll say, very solid, and Coach Logo's done a great job, I think, of keeping them fresh and playing a number of guys. We've had, I think certainly everybody's aware of our starters. Joey Embu's been very productive. Tommy Mark's done a nice job. Eric Braswell has done a nice job, was as productive as he's been probably since our bowl game against Penn State and the win against Temple. And then with the loss of Eric Island, Trevor Harris has stepped up and played extremely well. And then you look at the second team, and again, I think Coach Logo's done a fantastic job of bringing them along and getting them experience. And that's what we talked about as a staff. We've got some young guys that have not played before, and as a staff, we just got to put them in the game and let them make mistakes and learn from them. But they're going to continue to improve over the course of the season. B.J. Singleton's a redshirt freshman, has done a great job in 2 games so far. And he's a young man, 6'4", 285, and has made a number of plays as a backup who's been rotating in with Tommy Mark. Tyus Bowser, the true freshman from Tyler, Texas, did a nice job against Temple, had a couple of quarterback hits as well, and is only improving every week. And again, that's a good example of the bye week for us last week. Jeremiah Farley, who's a little bit undersized, plays with a tremendous motor, great leverage, has played a bunch around here as a backup, goes into the Temple game, gets a sack, and forces a fumble. So, and then Cameron Malveaux, again, another young guy in our program who's 6'6", 6'7", 255 pounds, and is continuing to get better every week and develop. So, we're playing really 8 guys in there right now with Eric Island hopefully coming back soon. And I like where they're at. Again, I don't want to give a letter grade. They can always play better, but they're doing very well at this point.
Coach, what's your perception of how Rice has changed since you saw him last year?
Well, a couple things. I think right now they're a very, very confident team. I think you not only sense that, but you see that in the way they're playing. They went into a hostile environment up in College Station for week 1, and they didn't bat an eye. They expected to be in that game. They expected to win that game, and it showed on the video. And when you look at their depth chart, I see a bunch of seniors, and if it doesn't say senior, for the most part, it says junior. And I mean this. And when I looked at the depth chart, there was probably 6 guys on it that I said to myself, wow, this guy is still at Rice. It seems like he's been there. I've been here 6 years. It seems like he was there when I got here in 2008, and he's still playing for him. And I think that's why they're playing so well right now. They're a veteran football team. And you look at their coaching staff, and they've been there together. Coach Bailiff did not lose an assistant from last year's team, and that's important. That continuity is important. So they're, the 2 things that come to mind is their experience, both with their staff and with their student athletes, and the confidence that they have right now. I want to say, and I might be wrong, I want to say they've won like 6 of the last 7 games or 7 of the last 8 games, something like that. So they're a confident group right now. It's very evident.
Tony, on your offensive line, with some of the people that you've lost and had to juggle around, Zach's been a guy that from the very beginning, you're 3 weeks in. Can you just kind of talk about what he's done to solidify that position and just kind of come in and take charge there? Well,
and Zach Johnson is in the Ephraim Oliphant mode. And those are the 2 guys right now in our program, and probably the only 2 guys that last spring were 3rd string. And today they're starting for us. And like Ephraim, Zach has done a great job. When you measure, if you will, production as an offensive lineman, it's not they're not catching passes or making tackles, so it's a little bit different. But certainly they're trying to use their technique to keep their the defender away from the quarterback when he's throwing the football, and block in the run game to try to open up the lanes for the running backs. And he's done a great job. He's very athletic for the size he has. He's a 6'6", 300-pound young man, and he's continuing to get better week by week. And he's another guy that's been fun to watch his improvement from the spring through the summer and through camp in August. But loves to play football. It's extremely important to him, and he's doing a fantastic job for us.
And back on O'Korn, I mean, you mentioned the poise factor, and I think this has a little bit to do with the decision making. Doesn't have an interception yet, so to build that kind of confidence for a young kid, how important was that? And then also the teachable moments, like in Temple, where he was near the goal line and had a couple of those plays there.
Well, and again, I think it goes back. I'm going to refer back to the statement I made a couple minutes ago. Right now, I haven't seen a stage that's too big for him, and it's not. He's not an arrogant young man. He's very, very humble, but he is confident, and I think that shows. In terms of the teachable moments, he has that fumble down on the 2-yard line, and he's coming off the field, and I met him before he got to the sideline. I put my hand out and shook his hand, and I said, "That's okay. Don't worry about that. And we got a lot of football left, and we need you to help us win this football game." And he actually told me in the middle of last week, he said, "Coach, I thought you were about to start yelling at me there, and you're going to be pretty upset with me." And that's, I think that's a moment that's critical in the stage he's at. Not that I'm going to be yelling at a bunch of quarterbacks coming off the field ever, but, him playing his second collegiate game, again, on the road, on TV, in front of all his family and friends, he's going to make mistakes. And, he's a young man that we talk about all the time. I made mistakes. You've made mistakes. They're going to make mistakes. Let's try not to make the same mistake twice. Let's learn from it. And he's a young man that has shown that every day, really, in practice. All right. Thank you.